Welcome to our training session. Today we'll be adding 5 tools to our toolbox of professional skills. Professional skills refer to some of the top skills that companies look for when hiring personnel. If you apply our presentation to your professional career, you will find more success in the workplace than those that don't. Some examples of these skills include vision, as Team 1 talked about, decision making, conflict resolution, leadership, and strategic thinking. I am Christopher Dean.
And I am Isaac Jung.
Alex Foster.
Valerie McLaughlin.
Tuan Nguyen.
Jordan Higgins.
Justin LeBrie.
All right, and today we have associated a physical tool with each of our topics. We will discuss how our tools relate to the skills we're talking about. We'll teach you the concept of each skill, how it adds value, and how to apply it to your professional life. You'll walk away with various ways to apply our professional skills to your careers to distinguish yourself from your peers. We'll talk about our 5 key points tonight, including a video and a 3-part activity. Starting at the top of our diagram, Valerie will start off with speaking with boldness, with the ladder of passion and courage. She'll talk about energizing your speech and speaking with conviction. Next, Tuan will discuss demonstrating credibility, with the stud finder of honesty and authenticity. He will talk about building your credibility and recognizing your ideology. Then Alex will talk about the hammer of listening physically. He will discuss how to position yourself to maximize listening and controlling your body language. After that, Jordan will discuss the multimeter of listening mentally, how to convey empathy and pay attention to body language. For our last point, Isaac will discuss the lighter of using empathy, how to build relationships through listening, and how to utilize this skill as a business strategy. Finally, Justin will wrap us up with a Q&A session. And now I'll go ahead and pass it along to Valerie to talk about passion and courage.
Thanks, Chris. My vision is to inspire you to take opportunities to be brave and speak with conviction. I associate the latter with boldness and courage to climb to new heights. When using the concepts of passion and courage, look at every situation as an opportunity to lead and inspire your audience. You build emotional capital when you encourage and motivate others. Convey the importance of your message, because vision provides direction and conviction shows the strength of your message. To speak with valor, make sure that when you're in situations where it's appropriate, that you speak up and you contribute. If you have a question, ask it. Your question may be the catalyst for change. It's okay to challenge the status quo. Passion can help because passion energizes your speech. It can electrify your audience. It's the crossroads between success and failure. Attitude is everything. According to our assigned reading, How to Lead Every Time You Speak, by author Judith Humphrey, she shares that passion can bring every word to life, even when you're reading from the script. Passion has the power to persuade. How can I apply passion? You can apply passion by using strong words and expressing compelling arguments. Think about every word and convey its importance. Use statements like, I believe, I am convinced, I strongly feel, because emotions are contagious. How can courage help? Having courage can help you guide your team through uncertainties. Courage also helps you give the strength to deliver an unpopular message. Bravery is a building block to intangible leadership qualities that make an effective leader. Valor gives you boldness to communicate a new vision for the company that may be met with opposition. How can I apply courage? Speaking with conviction requires courage. You can challenge the status quo by asking, why is it done this way? Can't we change it? You can have courage and it inspires confidence. To communicate with courage, be sure to articulate a clear message. Feel the fear and do it anyway. In the book, Habitudes, Images That Form Leadership Habits, the author, Dr. Tim Elmore, refers to windows and mirrors, where a speaker does not hide behind a podium. Rather, they share something about themselves, allowing the audience to connect and engage with them. I am living proof that you can face your fears and still achieve your goals. For years, I've played guitar, and I can play pretty decently. And I could play for a couple of people, but if it came to getting up in front of a crowd or getting on a stage, well, no way. That's just not gonna happen. So I started attending an open mic night so I could get over my fear of getting up in front of people. And the first time I went, I mean, I was so sick I could hardly even make the chords. My hand could not connect to make the chords. And I was just sick with nerves and having all these people looking at me. So about the third or fourth time, when I decided that I wasn't gonna worry so much about what people thought, and I was just gonna go up there and do it, I started getting a lot better. And I was, my confidence really went up. So I think that I had like fear of rejection, fear of ridicule, fear of failure, you name it. I was intimidated to get up in front of other people. And so I've always been a strong communicator by the written word, but face to face, for some reason, I'm not sure why, but I always felt like I maybe lacked confidence. So along the way, I got beaten down by negative people who didn't maybe like me, or they were harsh and critical. And so I'm here tonight to tell you that you don't need to get your approval from people. A third of the people will like you, a third of the people won't like you, and the other third can go either way. So don't worry about what people think, just go and do your best. And so I stopped worrying about what others thought. I thought, these songs are only 2 minutes, and after struggling to get through just 2 minutes, I told myself, it's okay, it's only 2 minutes. And then we had the speaking part, it was gonna be 5 minutes. And I thought, you could do that, it's only 5 minutes, it's okay. So I feel like it's been a journey, but I've made a lot of progress getting through and overcoming my fear. And I can say with courage and passion as driving forces, they can make you a powerhouse, and they can make you a superstar if you unleash them. Now, it takes courage to face your fears, and the open mic night ended up being a supportive platform, and I even made some new friends and enjoyed it. So I don't want anyone to have to live their life suffering with crippling fear. If you feel like that you have anxiety where you can't sleep at night or it goes on for weeks, face it head on, because it will just perpetuate and just go on forever if you don't deal with it. So to conclude, passion and courage are telltale signs of conviction. Passion and courage will make you successful and bold. And you can do this by conveying the importance of your words, using I statements, and emphasizing your main points. Now I will add my ladder of passion and courage to the toolbox. Thank you for your time and attention. And Twan is up next to talk about authenticity and honesty.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, Valerie. So up next, we have another 2 key components when speaking with conviction, and that's going to be authenticity and honesty, and they pretty much go hand in hand. So let's start off with authenticity. What does it mean to be authentic? It just means be yourself, advocate for your ideas, or defend your ideas, and really believe in what you have to say. And the other component is honesty. And honesty means never deceive your audience or misrepresent or lie to them. And always be clear and straight when you speak to them, and always be sincere. So here are a few ways that authenticity can help. First, it promotes understanding of your message. It helps your audience understand your ideas. Next, it gives the audience direction and leadership, because your audience wants to know that there's a person leading them and not some talking head brought in to repeat a few pat phrases. And lastly, it boosts your credibility, because when you speak authentically, it shows your audience that this is what you truly believe in. So you can start applying authenticity to your speeches by starting with the truth. Make sure whatever words you're using are founded on honesty. If you can't speak with the truth, then you're not speaking authentically. Next, speak from a place of I. So for example, I believe, or I'm convinced, or it's my view that. This can lead you to your own authentic self, and it can make a huge difference in the way that your words are perceived. And lastly, relate the message to your own life story. It's often useful to tell stories about yourself because it makes it become more real to your audience. So next we have honesty, and how can it help? Telling the truth when tempted to lie can significantly improve a person's mental and physical health, according to a Science of Honesty study. This study was conducted by 2 University of Notre Dame professors, Anita Kelly and I think his name is Lee John Wang. Next, it can show moral integrity, which means that showing that you are true to yourself and would do nothing to demean or dishonor yourself. And usually when you're honest, you usually receive honest answers back from your audience. So how can you apply honesty? First, you can apply honesty by never deceiving, misrepresenting, or lying to your audience. Another way is to avoid certain expressions such as to be honest, or let me be honest with you, or can I be frank? Some people think that they're being brutally honest by using these expressions, but they're in fact just being brutal. So as a rule of thumb, avoid them whenever you can, because your audience thinks that you're just saying everything else that's not true. And lastly, you can withhold or limit certain information, because if you're honest to a fault, which means giving out every piece of detail, it can sometimes paint a bad picture for your audience about your message. Now, I want to share a quick story with you guys about me and my COO. We're having a meeting and about employee productivity and what we can do to improve some of the processes we have around the office. And we get through a few, and she asked me my opinion on a certain process. And I began with the expression, to be honest. And that was where my mistake was. She stops me right there and she says, of course I want you to be honest. If not, why would I be asking these questions? I was taken aback and suddenly realized my mistake. It's a very minor detail, but it goes a very long way. I've learned from my mistake, just never use that expression or avoid that expression. It makes you seem like you're not being honest for whatever else people may ask of you. Now I want to show you guys a quick, short clip about an acronym that can really tie in both honesty and authenticity. The speaker in the video, his name is Julian Treasure. He's a sound and communications expert. He travels the world training people to speak better and create healthier sound. And he's also written 2 books and spoken for 5 different TED Talks. And here it is.
I'd like to suggest that there are 4 really powerful cornerstones, foundations, that we can stand on if we want our speech to be powerful and to make change in the world. Fortunately, these things spell a word. The word is hail, and it has a great definition as well. I'm not talking about the stuff that falls from the sky and hits you on the head. I'm talking about this definition, to greet or acclaim enthusiastically, which is, I think, how our words will be received if we stand on these 4 things. So what do they stand for? See if you can guess. The H, honesty, of course. Being true in what you say, being straight and clear. The A is authenticity, just being yourself. A friend of mine described it as standing in your own truth, which I think is a lovely way to put it. The I is integrity, being your word, actually doing what you say, and being somebody people can trust. And the L is love. I don't mean romantic love, but I do mean wishing people well. For 2 reasons. First of all, I think absolute honesty may not be what we want. I mean, my goodness, you look ugly this morning. Perhaps that's not necessary. Tempered with love, of course, honesty is a great thing. But also, if you're really wishing somebody well, it's very hard to judge them at the same time. I'm not even sure you can do those 2 things simultaneously. So, hail.
So as you can see from the video, if you can temper honesty and authenticity with integrity or love, your message will become more well received by your audience. And now, I have this tool. Let's get it out real quick. It works. There you go. And And we all know what this is. It's a stud finder, and a stud finder's primary function is in its name. It finds hidden studs, usually behind drywall. And like a stud finder, you need to be able to find your own inner stud and speak from there, because that will make you and your message become more authentic and honest to your audience. And now I'm going to pass the floor on to Alex, who's going to speak to us about listening physically and giving us some tips along the way.
Thanks, Twan. So our next tool that we'll be covering and adding to our toolbox is listening physically. This is the most basic level of listening. As a listener, you share the responsibility with the speaker to make a connection. And this connection can be impacted by any nonverbal cues that communicate what you're thinking or feeling. All of your body language can alter the message being presented to you. Through physical listening, you can create a positive setting for communication. And I'm going to touch on two major factors that make up this concept: where to position your body to maximize listening potential, and how to control your appearance and your body language. So the first way that we can improve our physical listening skills is by putting some dot into where we stand or sit. The seat that we take reflects our listening skills and can communicate what role we intend on taking during the interaction. We intend on being a leader, a listener, or a speaker. It also creates the environment for communication. It can influence the openness or determine the formality of the conversation. There are a multitude of ways that physical location can influence your listening ability. If you want an honest and open environment, then ensure that there's an open area between the communicators. If there's a desk between the two parties, it creates a divide between the people and increases formality. Another example would be if you're trying to be persuasive, or if somebody is trying to convince you of something. People like to sit on the same side as their friends, or next to their friends, or people they know. And so if you take a seat next to people who you're more likely to have conflict with, and this presents the idea that you're on the same team, it's more likely that you'll have meaningful interaction and friendly communication. It's how you can create a positive environment. And then finally, align your body with the person who you're listening to. This demonstrates interest and total engagement. Body language is another important nonverbal cue that controls communication. It's how you outwardly present yourself. Through body language, you're showing the speaker that you're ready to hear their ideas. You can help the speaker be comfortable and get into a groove. If the speaker sees your interest and willingness to listen, they're more likely to verbalize everything that needs to be communicated. And this gives you, the listener, an opportunity to absorb the full extent of the content. Literally all of your mannerisms, how you move your hands and look upon your face, make up body language. There are some physical habits that a lot of people have that are major turnoffs to those around them. And they're going to require a lot of awareness and effort in order to control. So my first example of body language is to keep your posture open and relaxed. This means to stand or sit tall, but in a relaxed way. Don't be overly rigid, don't get all hunched over. I have a habit of folding my arms whenever I don't know what to do with my hands. And it's a bad habit because it's comfortable, but it closes you off from the speaker. And it can be interpreted that you're less open to new ideas. The expression on your face also does a good job communicating that you're listening. Ideally, you want to maintain a warm, interested expression while occasionally nodding your head in agreement. This signals engagement and prompts the speaker to continue to relay the message. I've known numerous people who claim that an unhappy expression is their face's default. And obviously, everyone's face looks different, but you can control your facial expression when you want to. It's something to look out for, especially if you know that your expression communicates unhappiness. Faking a warm expression will render more positive communication results. And finally, the last major aspect of body language would be eye contact. We've long known eye contact to be an important social signal. If we don't make eye contact, then we seem uninterested or not confident. However, we also have to keep in mind that elongated eye contact can come across as uncomfortable or creepy. A study from University College London states that the ideal duration for uninterrupted eye contact during a conversation is 3.2 seconds. And this obviously differs from person to person based on preference and the relationship between the people. So it's important to keep eye contact to communicate engagement, but look away every once in a while to avoid making the other person uncomfortable, even if it's only for a fraction of a second. So to sum up this portion, there are two things to consider in regards to physical listening. The first is on choosing your physical location. You can do this by creating an open environment, aligning yourself with the speaker, and by picking a seat next to those you're more likely to have conflict with. And the second is by controlling your appearance and your body language. This is done by keeping your posture open and relaxed, displaying a warm facial expression, and by maintaining comfortable eye contact. So these are all things you need to be constantly mindful of, or else it will hurt your listening ability. Kind of like you have to pay attention while using a hammer, or else you'll hurt yourself by slamming your fingers. So we're going to end this section and the next two sections with a short listening exercise. I'm going to need everyone to get into either pairs or small groups of 3 real quick. Just whoever you're sitting around. So we're about to display a question up on the screen. One of you will take a minute to verbally answer the first question, while the other person and the other couple people will listen and demonstrate as many of the physical listening tactics that you can during the time period. So any questions about that? Is everyone in a small group?
Yes.
Awesome. So what is your major and why did you choose it? Give you like a minute.
I chose it because I thought that I would have to do the least amount of math.
Why you chose it? Why you chose it?
I was wrong then, actually. I had to do a lot more math than I expected.
Because I'm doing numbers.
Yeah.
And 30 seconds?
He's a first year. He's got one of the best jobs That's what he shows everything, man. Come on.
Let's do the game. All right, that's time.
You're just a nicer person.
All right. Good job, everyone. So now we have a little bit of practice with physical listening, and we can add the hammer to our toolbox. Now Jordan will be speaking on how to listen mentally.
Thank you, Alex. The multimeter is a tool that measures current, voltage, and resistance and can be used to troubleshoot problems in a wide array of electrical components. The multimeter allows you to take precise reading to understand the source of the problem instead of trying to guess what the problem is or jump to conclusions. The same concept applies when listening mentally. Listening mentally involves clearing your mind of anything that you are doing or preoccupied with in order to listen completely and get a true reading of what the other party is trying to communicate. It requires a great deal of focus, observation, and patience. When you listen mentally, you can be confident you have all the information needed to respond effectively, even when there's conflict involved. So how can this add value? Listening mentally can add value in several ways, both personally and professionally. It conveys empathy. When you're focused solely on the speaker, they will naturally get a sense that you understand their perspective. Having empathy ensures that you will discover the root of the message, even if it is not clearly stated. Later in this presentation, my colleague Isaac will go more in depth on empathy. Second, it aids in giving and receiving criticism. Listening mentally allows you to get the complete message without being distracted by emotions or personal wants and needs. It allows you to gather your thoughts and respond effectively from either perspective of the criticism. Lastly, it improves handling a hostile audience. Listening mentally can be very difficult when communicating with a hostile audience, but it can also have tremendous benefits. Whether you're trying to prove a point or attempting to persuade, listening mentally can give you insight and reveal information about the other party's intentions. So how can you apply mental listening? First, prepare your surroundings before starting a conversation. Put away your phone, laptop, or anything else. Find a calm, quiet place, free of distractions, to have an open discussion. Next, pay attention to body language. Body language tells a lot. It can give you clues to the feelings and purpose behind the conversation. For example, they may have folded arms, which can indicate a defensive position, or they may be leaning in, which can indicate that they are very invested in what they're saying. Lastly, avoid interruptions. Interrupting will create an impression that you're not willing to accept or agree with whatever they're communicating. Free yourself from your emotions and take time to gather your thoughts and respond effectively. This brings me to an example that I dealt with recently at work. I was having an issue with an employee of mine. She was routinely showing up to work late and her performance had suffered as well. I sat down with her for a one-on-one meeting and gave her an opportunity to speak. I was sure to meet with her in a private setting free of distractions. By applying these techniques, I was able to learn that she had recently gone through some personal troubles at home. We decided to give her a temporary leave in order to get things straightened out. Once she returned, she was back to the outstanding employee that we had come to expect of her. Remember to be respectful and positive, as Group 2 spoke about. So this brings us to the second stage of our activity session. If you didn't speak last time, then it is now your turn to speak, and you will answer this question, or you will speak to this question: what do you do at your current, most recent job? And we'll give you about a minute to speak.
I didn't know you were school full time.
Oh no, I haven't. Okay.
So what do you do?
Oh no, I didn't get you, but I was like, this is perfect for her. She was like, please go ahead, tell me how I can help.
And then Mohammed, instead of looking, read those on yours, what else do you do? Hey, you might be private.
It's good though.
Okay, everyone, that's time. Thank you all for participating in the second stage of our activity. I'm confident you were able to apply the techniques of listening mentally through focusing on the speaker, paying attention to body language, and avoiding interruptions. I will now add this tool to our toolbox of professional skills. Next, I will pass it on to Isaac, who will speak about listening with empathy.
Thanks, Jordan. So use empathy. A tool for my concept is a lighter, since this symbolizes the fire in the hearts between the speaker and the listener, and which in turn provides warmth in the exchange. Among the three types of listening mentioned, listening emotionally is the highest level, because this involves empathy, caring, and a desire to give support. In order to achieve this highest level of listening, you got to have politeness, awareness of verbal and nonverbal cues, and a willingness to make the exchange enjoyable. But generally, obviously this involves a lot of qualities, but generally, the best listening is based on empathetic ties between the speaker and the listener. Keeping this concept in mind, while listening not only opens the line of communication, but also gives the speaker some emotional space for their ideas. Not to mention, listening actively makes your communication go a long way that will truly inspire others and build relationships. So how can it value? During the conversation between coworkers, supervisors, and clients, the very first step is to be polite, which opens the line of communication while making you and the other person feel comfortable during the exchange. On vice versa, being angry will close down the line of communication, and this would cause the exchange rather uncomfortable. Remember when you walk into a fast food restaurant and the cashier serving you were rude or inappropriate? I've encountered this many times before. So how did the exchange feel? I mean, was that the reason why you never wanted to go back to that restaurant? Maybe not, but I think we can all agree on the fact that nobody wants to talk to a grumpy cashier. You see, this is why some of the greatest business strategy involves politeness, and listening emotionally to the customers will build a relationship that they want to refer back to you,
which would increase sales, customer satisfaction, and loyalty. I don't know if you have noticed, but I noticed this emotional listening taking place at Chick-fil-A when I wanted the chicken sandwich for lunch the other day. Every employee over there were very polite, and I could tell that the employees were listening emotionally to customers that made their exchanges rather enjoyable, even during brief exchanges. Listening emotionally during your interviews will definitely help a lot because it allows for deeper conversation between the hiring manager and yourself, and that will leave a stronger impression of you, and you will be able to build a relationship with the hiring manager that may increase your chances of getting hired. So how can we apply? Let's say you are in a conference room with your client discussing what services you can provide for them. You would obviously listen very carefully what your client wants, but you could take this discussion to another level by listening emotionally. What this means is that when you make a suggestion, you want to be mindful of your client's reactions. Are you sensing positive reactions, as in, do they agree with you? Or are their reactions leaning towards disagreements? This cues you to address the underlying problems, to work with others in trying to solve any issues and forming an agreement to an end at the end. Now, politeness is very important and lays the groundwork, but emotional listening goes beyond politeness. It requires empathy that reaches a deeper sensitivity to the other person's feelings. Helen Keller believed that the best and the most beautiful thing in the world cannot be seen nor even touched, but just felt in the heart. Being empathetic involves showing respect. Everyone wants respect, who doesn't? Showing respect also comes back around. So you can keep in mind that to respect others, that the way you want to be respected. Giving your client an emotional space is also critical to being respectful. How much of the space is taken up by you, your ideas, your feelings, and how much by other people? People with strong desire to take control take up more than half of this space, but effective listeners take up less than half because they believe that listening to others and showing respect of others' space is critical to emotional listening. In most business conversations, there is an opportunity to lighten up by sharing something funny or personal that makes it easier for people to focus on more serious material. It gives them a chance to breathe and refocus. After all, everyone deserves a break after focusing so much on the serious topics. Now that we've discussed the importance of emotional listening, please pair up once again, and you will have 1 minute to answer the third question. Describe your greatest interest outside of school or work.
That was easy. I'm not gonna
Easy
say
answer.
I know.
Real fast.
I was not gonna.
She's
I'm not
already done
gonna
talking. Oh, that's her only hobby.
No.
That's it.
I guess
That's all
my
she does.
greatest interest outside of like school is work.
Are you a loser?
It was not really movies. Like honestly, like I travel. Like I literally watched the same movie like just. Okay, I watched it once with my boyfriend and once with myself. I enjoyed the movie, but yeah, I like Marvel movies. I love rom-coms. I don't like scary movies. But yeah, that's my greatest interest. Is I like watching it. I don't know. I think it does keep in life. How can I show you? Okay, I'll watch The Office.
I love The Office. Me too. It's always in the background. It's like the only, like not even paying attention. The Office is like always going in my house. And it's over, and I pretty much will like watch something else for like a day, and then like start it over.
For answering all of the questions. With this question, now you know how to apply your newly learned skills, and you are one step to being a strong leader and inspiring others. So remember, my tool is the torch, and I'll put it on the box. And now I'll pass on to Justin, who will wrap up our training session for the night.
So, to wrap everything up, you want to speak with boldness. Be passionate to show the importance of your message